Mantour Ministries presents the Mantour Guy Podcast. We may talk about football. We could mention bacon. We might reference Rocky movies. We'll probably discuss the Mantour conferences, but we'll definitely talk about how to grow in our walk with God. Here's your host, the Mantour Guy, Jamie Holden.
Hey guys, welcome to the Mantour Guy Podcast. I am Jamie Holden. I'm so happy to have you join us this week. You know, I am coronavirus free and feeling great. I hope you are too. Guys, it is a really interesting time to be alive right now, isn't it? I mean, who out there could have saw this coming? We are all facing new challenges, new obstacles, new ways of doing things, new rules on how we have to live. And I've loved seeing how churches have risen to the occasion and have continued their services via technology. And then reminded that scene from Apollo 13, where the leader of NASA, they're all standing around talking about how bad this situation is. And the head NASA director says, this could be the worst disaster NASA's ever experienced. And that moment, Gene Kranz, who's the head of the flight crew, replied, with all due respect, sir, I believe this is going to be our finest hour. And guys, you know my heart is to reach men for men's ministry. And I get that during this time, a lot of men's ministries and leaders are taking the attitude of, we can't get it together anymore. We might as well just shut down the men's ministry for this time. But guys, this could be our finest hour. And how do we do that? This applies not only just to men's leaders, but just to men in general. It is time for God's men to start being shepherds to other men. Guys, men are isolated, and the isolation is so dangerous for men. So many traps wait for men when they're cut off and alone. And I believe that our job as men of God is more important than ever to reach other men. I know a guy who comes to every Mantour that we've ever done. He's active in his church. He's just always a happy-go-lucky kind of guy. He's always joking and just a great guy. So imagine my surprise when I found out a few months ago that this man tried to commit suicide. And I was just stunned when I heard that. And I've been reaching out to him a number of times. And just recently I was talking to his pastor, and I asked the pastor how this guy is doing. And the pastor said he was really struggling right now during this time of isolation. And guys, I believe this man is not alone. Many men are struggling. Isolation is so hard on men. And our job as men's leaders is to shepherd other men, even in isolation. Our job as God's men, not just as men's leaders, but as men of God, is to shepherd the men around us, to reach out to our friends and our family members and other men. They need us, guys. I recommend that you make concerted efforts to call, to Skype, to FaceTime, and to Zoom as many men as you possibly can to check on them and encourage them. Guys, you can give other men something they desperately need. Another person who's not their spouse or child that they can communicate with. And some things that you could talk to them about could be, ask them how they're doing through all of this. And when you ask, actually listen when they answer. Sometimes we're not too good at listening, guys, but listen to what they say. And if they say like, oh, I'm fine or I'm good, keep pressing and follow up with some more questions to get them to open up a little more and see how they really are doing. Guys, ask them how their spiritual life is doing. Has God shown them anything during their time in the Word? Has God spoken anything to them in prayer? Ask them, are they reading the Bible? They're praying. That's most important. See if they're still exercising and staying fit. If they're still being spiritually disciplined, guys, just kind of follow up with them and see how they're doing. You can ask them, number 3, ask them what they're doing to fill their time. We have more time than ever right now, most men. There's a lot of men who are bored right now. I know there's a lot of people who are essential workers. My dad's an essential worker, and he's busier than ever. But a lot of people who can't go to work are at home, and they have more time than they've ever had. And ask these men, what are they doing to fill their time? And this is a great way to segue into the topic of reminding them to avoid compromise due to boredom. Guys, this is not the time to be watching things on TV or on the internet that we know we shouldn't be watching. And what I mean by that, let me give you an example. This year in all the Mantour sessions, I even might have shared it on the podcast in the past, I've told a story about how one night, Odessa and I turned on a very popular sitcom on Netflix. And as soon as we turned it on, my dad walked into the room, and when he came in, I turned it off. I didn't want him watching this show. I didn't want it getting into his head and filling his mind. I didn't want him getting connected to it. But when he left, I turned it back on again. And in that moment, the Holy Spirit convicted me and he said, Jamie, if that show isn't good enough for your dad, then why are you watching it? What business do you have watching it? And I felt so convicted that night, and I haven't watched that show since. But then came quarantine and more time at home. And as my boredom set in a little bit more at night, the desire to watch the show really came back strong. As nights got longer and boring and there wasn't really nothing on TV, I really, really wanted to watch this show again. And I had to fight through it and remind myself that boredom is not an excuse for compromise. Let me say it again. Boredom is not an excuse for compromise. When you're talking to men, find a way to get through to them that this isn't the time to revert our minds. It's the time to renew them. We can't be compromising. We can't be falling back into old traps. I've talked to so many people who have said to me, man, Jamie, during this time, things I thought I had wrestled with and overcome, things I thought were my past, they're creeping back up again, and the desire is so strong, and I've been having to fight really hard. So I know I'm not alone out there in my desire to watch this TV show or to fall back into old traps. And we need to be helping other men during this time, encouraging them, helping them realize it's not the time to go backward. It's a time to continue moving forward in our walk with God. Well, guys, we're going to be right back with one more tip on how you can help other men right after this break.
I know you're gonna dig this.
Like what you're hearing? Head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Thanks.
Hey guys, Jamie Holden here, the Mantour guy. And so often men tell me that they can't afford to use Covenant Eyes. And my immediate response back is, dude, you can't afford not to use Covenant Eyes. For 53 cents a day, you can protect every computer, every laptop, every tablet, and cell phone that you and your family own from the trap of internet pornography. I tell them for 53 cents a day or $16 a month, you can make sure your little girls never stumble onto pornography as she uses Snapchat or does any internet searches while doing her homework. For 53 cents a day, you can make sure your son never falls into the trap of pornography or even sees it accidentally while online. I say for 53 cents a day, you can protect your wife from getting trapped in the trap of internet porn and protect your marriage. And I tell them for 53 cents a day, you can help break the cycle of internet pornography that's been holding in your life. Guys, you and your family, and most importantly, your walk with God, cannot afford for you not to use Covenant Eyes. So, head to mantourministries.com and hit the Covenant Eyes button in the upper right-hand corner to get 1 month of free service. Try it out. I know you're going to love it. You're never going to regret it. Guys, do it today. You can't afford not to have Covenant Eyes be a part of your life.
The Mantour Guy Podcast, helping men grow in their walk with God.
Hey guys, Jamie Holden here, and I want to tell you that God is moving in our prison systems. And Mantour Ministries, well, we're on the front lines, and you can help. We are giving inmates our books and resources, and guys, the testimonies we're receiving back have been amazing. One person reported that they had 30 men gathering, and 25 of them were delivered and set free from anger. Another shows how the men are weekly working together through our books and how men are growing spiritually. They're starting to have devotions and have prayer time and Bible reading in their individual lives, and they're growing. Guys, I could go on and on. Chains of bondage are being broken among our inmates. You can help us reach even more hurting men inside our prison systems when you become a monthly financial partner with Mantour Ministries. You can become a partner with us by going to mantourministries.com/partner and clicking on the Give Online button. Guys, together we can continue reaching men in our correctional institutions with the life-changing truth of the gospel.
Yep. You're listening to the Mantour Guy Podcast.
New from Mantour Ministries, Invincible, Scaling the Mountains That Keep Us from Victory. You stayed at this mountain too long. These words spoken by God to the nation of Israel thousands of years ago still ring true for God's men today. It's not God's will for his sons to stay stagnant in their walk with God, unable to conquer the mountains that keep them trapped in their old way of life. He wants you to climb these mountains and conquer them. You can learn how in Mantour Ministries' new book, Invincible, Scaling the Mountains That Keep Us from Victory. Available today by visiting mantourministries.com. You can climb your mountains. You can claim victory. In Christ, you are invincible.
Order your copy today at mantourministries.com. Don't forget to visit iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Thanks.
Hey guys, Mantour guy Jamie Holden here. Are you looking for a speaker at your church or for your men's breakfast, your next men's event, men's retreat, or men's conference? Well, why not bring me in to speak? God has been moving among men as I've been sharing an encouraging word of freedom and victory. We're seeing lives change, men being saved, people being set free, and guys, chains are being broken. So if your church has hurting men and women, contact me to come share this encouraging word of hope and victory to help you grow in your walk with God.
Welcome back to the Mantour Guy Podcast.
Welcome back, guys, as we continue our discussion about how to be a shepherd to the men around you in your life. And the final thing I want to talk with you about is you need to be checking on other men and how they're doing relationally. So many of us who are not essential workers, our lives went from moving at breakneck speed to all of a sudden being slowed down, so the brakes were slammed on, and we're at home with our families, and things aren't as they used to be. And now we're with our families constantly. It can be hard, and it puts strains on the best of relationships. Destin and I hardly ever fight, but just today, before I record this podcast, we had a good old-fashioned little fight, and we had to talk and work it out. You know, people are together more than ever, and people are getting stressed, and men may need someone to vent, and you can be that guy they can vent to about it. Recently, I had a pastor just contact me, and he gave me this whole thing. He said, I just want you to listen. You don't need to fix it. You don't need to comment. Just, I need to vent to somebody. And I let him vent everything out, and he felt better. One group of men you really have to focus on really, truly, strongly is men that you know struggle with anger and rage issues. Guys, sadly, domestic abuse is up during this time. And so is child abuse, and that is heartbreaking. It is hard time for men who have a past or even a present struggle with anger and abuse. We need to shepherd these men. We need to check in on them. We need to make sure they're doing okay. See if they've had any episodes. Get them to talk through their anger with you. Guys, we can be the help to these men who struggle with their anger issues. We need to check in with men and see how they're doing. Guys, I do believe that this will be the men of God's finest hour, especially men's leaders and other men who just feel the call to help other men. This can be our finest hour as we shepherd men in our sphere of influence. The call, guys, to disciple and mentor has not been voided by the virus. It is the call God's given us, and we need to step up our efforts during this time. So I encourage you, make time to reach out to your men individually.
The Mantour Guy's final thought.
Guys, as we get ready to end here today, about a little over a month, maybe 5 to 6 weeks ago, we shared with you some final thoughts concerning this whole coronavirus situation. And at the time, I don't think any one of us saw this thing still being shut down as long as it is. But I want to share these thoughts with you again here today. Guys, we have to remember that as bad as things are, God knew this was coming. He knows when it's going to end, and He knows everything that's going to happen in between. And in this truth, we as followers of God can have peace. God is in control. Nothing happens in the life of a believer that God does not have under control. You know, too many of us hearing this feel like you might have lost control. I know sometimes in my life I feel like I've lost control. As a type A type man, it's unnerving not to have control. We don't like plans changing. We don't like when not knowing what's coming next. But I want to remind you that God knows what's coming next. He's not surprised, and He still has your life under control. Allow this thought, guys, to bring you peace, God's peace. Even more, let it drive you to ask God to rearrange and schedule all the things that need rearranged schedule. Ask Him what He wants to do, what He wants to do with your time in your life, how He wants to use you during this time. Another truth I completely believe is that God wants to share His will for our lives with us. As we seek His will and ask Him what to do, even in the smallest details, He helps us make decisions to rearrange our lives and shows us how He wants to proceed and provide. So whether you're trying to figure out how to balance this new situation where your kids are home all the time, schools are closed, wondering how you're going to pay your bills, now the incomes are being adjusted, or if some people's incomes even have vanished, or if you're just feeling fearful about everything involved with this virus, remember, God is in control. He's not surprised. He's not afraid. He's not panicked. As we look to Him for direction, we can find His peace and the best way that we can proceed with our lives. So guys, these are just some thoughts I wanted to share with you once again, so many weeks later, as we're still in the middle of the situation. Guys, we're out of time, though, for today. Thanks so much for joining us this week. We appreciate you taking time to listen. We'd love to have you go to Apple Podcasts, iTunes, and Google Play. Subscribe, give it a 5-star rating, and leave a review so we can reach even more men. Also, make sure to head to MantourMinistries.com and check out our books, our resources, our monthly newsletter. You can read the first chapter of Whatever It Takes for free there. You can order your copies there. Everything's available at MantourMinistries.com. But once again, thanks for joining us. Guys, continue to stay safe out there, and we'll see you next time on the Mantour Guy Podcast.
Thanks for listening to the Mantour Guy Podcast. Be sure to visit MantourMinistries.com to learn more about our books, men's ministry resources, and our Mantour conferences.
All men want one thing in life, to be remembered. The good news is we all have a legacy. This is the question though, will you leave behind a good legacy or a bad legacy? Learn how to create a godly legacy in Mantour Ministries' book, Legacy, Living a Life That Lasts. By reading the stories of godly men from the Bible, working through the study questions, and taking up the legacy challenges at the end of each chapter, you'll be well on your way to living a life that lasts. It also includes a bonus workbook that you can use with your small groups. Order your copy today at MantourMinistries.com. How will you be remembered?
Order your copy today at MantourMinistries.com.
One more thing before I wrap up this week, guys. You need to head to CovenantEyes.com and sign up today to protect you and your loved ones from the many traps awaiting you on the internet. I am a Covenant Eyes user. I just signed my 69-year-old father up and put Covenant Eyes on his phone and his laptop. I believe in it. It's an amazing tool. It helps you stay pure online. Guys, I encourage you to try it today. If you use the code MANTOR, you get 30 free days. That's 30 free days. What do you have to lose? So head to CovenantEyes.com, try it today. Like I said, what do you have to lose, guys?
The Mantour Guy Podcast, helping men grow in their walk with God.